Hey friends, I have got a very special person here with me today. She is Lisa Digeso. She is a photographer at Milk and Honey Photography. She is the co-owner of the Milky Way, a photographer's resource, and she's host of her own podcast, The Art and Soul Show, which I had the pleasure of being a guest on very recently. I think that episode was up on September 13th, I believe. So go check that out. Lisa is, as you will soon learn, she is super, super wonderful. She's exceptionally curious. She's always exploring and researching, which is what makes her photographer, like the Milky Way, her photographer's resource, makes it so wonderful to work with. She is someone who looks outside the lines and is always inventing and improving and just seeing things with such a sense of humor. And it's just refreshing. It's so refreshing looking at her. It's so refreshing looking at her work, looking at how she educates people. She's always wearing rose-colored glasses, and that is also reflective. Her spirit is really reflected in the beautiful work she makes. She is specifically a maternity and newborn photographer, and I tell you, if a baby ever graces these loins, this is the woman, Lisa is the woman who is going to photograph it. Maybe not my loins, but certainly the bump that would be part of that. Her sole purpose is to create, empower, educate, entertain, and she is so good at blending all of those things together. And as you're going to see in this episode. Without further ado, here is Lisa Digeso. Lisa, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Tilt and Shift Photography Business Podcast. I'm delighted to talk with you.
I'm so excited to talk to you.
Yeah, we come from such different worlds.
Yes.
So why don't you explain your world a little bit?
Okay. I am a newborn photographer. I specialize in newborn photography, maternity, family. I've been shooting for, almost 14 years now. And I also have an online photography school specialized in the education of maternity, newborn, and family photography, specifically in very posed realm. And I love it. It's just been my jam for 14 years. And I'm mama bear proud of all of our amazing students. And yeah, just honestly, my business plan is have fun.
Yeah, that's a pretty good business plan.
Right?
Which kind of flies in the face of the majority of business plans.
Pretty much. Right? And it's like I've made decisions, like business decisions where I'm like, okay, like this doesn't feel very fun, even though I know this could be lucrative. It like my heart does not in it, and it doesn't feel like it brings me joy. So I'm like, I feel like this is not the right direction for me. So we're just going to like pivot and do something else.
Have you always been led by?
I'm very, you know what? I don't know if you know human design at all.
Yes.
Yes, I'm a manifest generator. And so like as an MG, I am definitely driven by joy and what brings me joy. And when I had a reading a few years ago, they were like, you know what, your purpose on this planet is to find your joy and spread your joy. So if you're finding yourself bogged down doing the things that you don't want to do, investing the time and the energy in these business avenues that aren't filling your cup, you're not supposed to do them on this planet. So give yourself the permission to stop doing that and just move on. And so after I kind of just gave myself that permission, it's like, okay, well, how does this feel in my body? How does this align with what I want and what I want to do? And does it light me up? And if it's not a hell yes, it's kind of a hell no. And I move on and I do something else that does.
So you said you said this in reference to your human design, but do you think that somatic recognition, like,
oh yeah.
Do you think that applies to everyone?
I think that everybody can cultivate that, but I think intuitively I am very in touch with how I feel and my body and like how things exist in my body. And like my litmus is just like, nope. And then I'm like, I'm not going to do it. Like there's like, you could tell me like, it's going to make you millions of dollars, Lisa. And it's but if it doesn't feel good in my body, I'm just like, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not.
That's ultimate freedom.
It really is. It really is.
Oh,
And it's when you sort of give that permission just to walk in that freedom of what you really, really love and what you really, really enjoy,
yeah.
like audience follows, people follow, money follows, the fun follows. And I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, like I'm not going to be like everything is wonderful every single day of my life. Like I have some tough times too, and I have to make hard choices. And of course I do things I don't want to do. But I would say the majority of the time my choices are driven by, is this
Mhm.
going to be achieving happiness to me? And if it's not,
Mhm.
then well, let's figure out what is.
Well, I would imagine that even those tough decisions, if you are guided by joy, even those tough decisions, you would still see joy in the other end of it, right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, like what's the next best decision if it's leading to ultimately what's going to make me happy?
Yeah. And
Right.
that is in personal and business, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you started business,
Yeah.
did you know that you were a seeker of joy?
No. I thought I was a seeker of money
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and a seeker of attention.
Oh,
Like, really, I think that the whole reason I even got involved with photography in the first place, and just in the beginning, like, I just wanted to be told I was good at something, like, and you're posting online and like, you're getting all that feedback, like, oh my gosh, you're so good. You should be a photographer. You should
yeah,
start charging. How can I pay you? And you
yeah.
kind of go through this process of like, it just really feeds like maybe a low self-esteem that I
Yeah.
had at the time and that I really needed. And
Yeah.
then yeah, I feel like just over time, I kind of, when I became aware of like, okay, well, I feel like I'm kind of addicted to likes here, and that's really probably not very good for my mental health. It's just kind of dialing that back and going, okay, well, this once brought me joy, but now I'm just like hustling for likes and I'm shooting for other photographers instead of actually like things for my clients. It's like those things where I'm throwing out images where a baby is posed and they've got like fingers off or their fingers clenched, and I'm throwing these images away. And I'm like, but wait a sec, like this is still a beautiful image, even though it's not perfect, right?
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah.
like, I don't know. It's just like when you start realizing these things that you're doing and starting to question the things and why you're doing them, that you can kind of get off that ride and you can go, okay, what is bringing me joy? And let's get back to
Yeah.
that.
How do you build the awareness to actually ask yourself that question?
I think I think it's like sometimes you just have to, when you're in it and you're zoomed in with like, you're up close with your 35 millimeter lens, you got to back up and look at life through like that
Mm,
200 millimeter sometimes. Right. And just
mm,
like, you got to ease back and go, okay, like how do I feel? What is driving me right now? Like, what's my big why? Why am I even doing this?
mhm.
And I think once you start to ask yourself those questions, um, you realize that sometimes things change. Like the whole reason I got into photography 14 years ago is completely different than
Yeah.
what and why I do it now.
Yeah.
And I think when you are able to just take a step back and reevaluate things and be honest with yourself and have these honest conversations, saying, okay, you know what? Years ago, maybe I liked wedding photography. I mean, I
Mhm.
never did, but
It's an
not for
acquired
me.
taste.
It was not for me. I mean, other people don't like newborn photography, right?
Mm,
And
yeah.
like, but just knowing that of yourself and not forcing yourself to do something you don't like. Like
Yeah.
if you don't like newborn photography, you don't have to do it. You
Yeah.
don't. Do the
Yeah.
do the genre that you love,
Yeah.
right?
This is okay, so something I've been contemplating recently, especially as I work with more and more students, is sometimes these realizations don't make sense
Yeah.
until you've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
So is there value in asking yourself those questions early in your career? Like do you think that we're like capable of answering that or having these shifts earlier in our career?
I think yes and no. I think you have to ask yourself the questions, but I think that you also have to be okay with that it's going to change. And you're allowed to
Mhm.
change your mind at any time. It's your business.
Yeah.
It's your choice. If like you do family photos for 15 years, and then all of a sudden you decide you're like, actually, I don't like dads at all. I don't want to do this anymore. Right? Like, That's okay. It's your business. Like,
Yeah.
switch
Yeah.
gears, switch gears. It's okay. And I think that
Yeah.
we just we take ourselves so seriously and we get so stuck in the things that we feel like we should be doing that we
Hmm.
forget to ask ourselves, do we even enjoy the things we want? Like, do we even enjoy it? Are you
Yeah.
happy? Are you
Yeah.
happy?
Well, I think that
Yeah.
also comes from a lot of our parents
Mm,
and like their parents did it to them and how many ever generations back. But certainly are like people who in their like 30s, 40s, 50s, their parents instilled in them that life is not meant to necessarily be fun.
right.
And you need to know what you're doing
Yeah.
and you have to do that thing for your whole
Forever.
life.
Forever. You pick one thing. Like if I
Yeah.
picked the one thing, okay, I grew up in 100 Mile House. Like I went to high school in 100 Mile House. And for those that don't know where that is like a little tiny town in the middle of British Columbia, pretty much nowhere.
Yeah.
And I
A
was
hundred
in,
miles from nowhere.
yes, I was in career prep, which marine biology, which is nowhere by
Oh,
the ocean. I don't
oh
even like biology. Like,
wow. Did
I'm
you
not
say you
even
were
good
career
at it.
mapped? Is that what
Like
you said?
I think we had like a career prep teacher, and for
Yes.
some reason we all like there was like 20 girls and we were all in career prep biology, like
Mm, yeah.
marine biology, career prep marine
Yeah.
biology. We didn't live by the ocean, number one, and none of us went on to be a marine biologist. So if we like have to make our decision in grade 12 of what we're going to do for the rest of our lives. Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. And like, I have a
It
14-year-old
doesn't bode
son.
well.
I'm like, dude, like, you're allowed to change your mind. I've changed my mind like a million times. I have so
Yeah.
many different certificates in various things,
Yeah.
and I'm always going to learn. And when it becomes not something I love and enjoy anymore, there's going to be something else that's going to take its place. And I just walk in faith with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's give everybody permission right now
Yeah,
that what you're doing now may not be what you're doing in 5 or 7 years.
that's cool.
And
Isn't
that's
that,
totally great
but
because
isn't
it
that
means you're
awesome?
growing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's
not
so
like
freeing.
it's like, what are
Like,
you going to do next? Isn't that
mhm.
awesome? Like, I've been a travel agent, I've been an event planner, a wedding planner, a makeup artist, an esthetician. Like, I've
Wow.
done all the things, all the things. It's so fun and so many fun jobs, which brings me back to why I don't do brides, is because I used to do, I used to plan weddings. Then I
Yeah.
was in wedding makeup. Then
You've
I
had
was
it
in
from all
wedding
angles.
nails. I was in wedding catering.
Oh
I
no.
did it. I worked at the university when I was about 25, and I would have 5 weddings going on any given weekend.
No.
And when I got into photography, people were like, obviously you're going to do weddings. I'm like, obviously I'm done with
Oh
brides
hell
for my
no.
life, right? I'm good. I'm good. Give me the babies,
Yeah, I'm into what happens after weddings or before weddings. Like,
right? Yeah,
just not.
the babies. Right? But the funny part is when I started my photography business, all these brides that I'd planned their weddings. So it was like
Hmm.
4 or 5 years later, I
Yeah.
was doing their newborn sessions. It was
Yes.
epic.
Yeah, it works out well,
Yeah.
especially, and that is something that, like, I look at wedding photography as family photography.
Yeah.
Like, I do not,
Yeah.
I don't see a difference between the two other than like what they're wearing.
Yeah.
And there's maybe more alcohol involved than like the average family session.
Yeah.
But that's like I'm still looking for what defines you as a family. Like, how do you
Yeah.
express your emotions? How do
Love
you
that.
reveal your personality? Blah blah blah. But if you're looking at it from anything other than that,
Right? Like
weddings are
because
really
I'm a
boring.
formal posed photographer. Even my family sessions are very like I try to be like loosey goosey and like have fun. And I'm like, and everyone's just like, okay, let's stop. Look, Lisa, smile.
Yeah.
Like we're
Oh,
just posed. I'm posed. I love posed. I love catching the natural moments too, but they really, because I shoot with a 135 or a 200 and I'm way
mhm.
far back, that they end up looking quite posed anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, this is me. Oh well.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about this because we've talked a few times and you're so I have this kind of rift in my brain when I look at your work and I hear your life philosophy. Your work is like and your life philosophy is like flowy and
Yeah.
light and like yoga and happiness and joy. And then I look at your work and it is so like I'm making hand gestures so
I know.
people can't see it. But my hands are like gently flowing through the air. But it's like there's another level of artistry in it that I like my brain just doesn't know what's happening. Like there's maybe you could describe a little bit about
Yes.
what you do.
Gosh, my work, like
A little
how
bit
I
more
work
about it.
with people, or like my work, like
Yeah,
my,
like how you get them to look like that.
I just wait. I kind of
Yeah.
wait, and I'm just like direct them, and I'm like
Yeah.
extend your, like I'm very vocal in my sessions,
Uh-huh.
and um, but in like a jokey kind of way. So we're just like having fun, but I'm
Hmm.
very directive on what I want. And I already have an image in my head of what I'm looking for.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm just going to keep snapping until I get it. And then
Yeah.
usually what you'll see is like the image that I had in my head, which not necessarily going to be the favorite image of my clients, but
Yeah.
it's the favorite image of mine. And that's what I was going for.
Yeah.
But
And
you know,
that's your artistic perspective, right? We often
yeah,
get caught up in posting what we think other people will like, but that's not why people hire us. People hire us because we're posting the
yeah,
image that we liked the best from the session.
yeah,
Side note, anybody who's taking notes right now, that is a very important distinction, is to present what you had in your head.
yeah. It really,
So,
I think honestly, the secret ingredient is that most of the people that you see in my work are friends of mine and my clients for 10 years.
yeah.
So there is so much love that goes into the work that I feel like that really translates. Like it's just this quality when you look at it, you're like, I don't know what it is, but
Hmm.
it's so there's a peacefulness and a joy and a love that I really feel like comes across in my work, because I love my clients so much and we
Yeah.
have so much fun. It's like our sessions aren't that long, actually. My sessions maybe are like 20 minutes because dads hate being there. And I take
Hmm.
them to a field and we go snap, 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 and we laugh the entire time. And I just love them. I love them.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
my
I think it's
business.
very that is very apparent in your work, though, Lisa. Like there is a sense of calm and peacefulness in pretty much every one of them. I would say all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Everything
you.
I've seen. So that's really good
Thank
on
you.
you for
Thank you.
for getting it that way. Has it always been like that for you? Has it been a challenge to find that?
I don't think so, because you know what's so funny is I tried so hard. Do you remember when like a few years ago everyone started shooting with the 35
Yeah.
and they were so up close. So I tried that and I'm like, this just isn't like, I want to be the watcher. No, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be up so close. And so I really struggled with that. And even like the prompts and like getting up in there. And I do prompts with my clients,
Hmm.
but they're like, I don't know, they're different. It's like we're sitting down and mom's snuggling with her kids. And I was like, well, asking older sibling, like tell your sister about how happy she was when you were born and what you were most excited about doing with her. And
Hmm.
so they'll have this little conversation, and I'm just taking the pictures there. So they're sharing their love, I'm sharing my love, and
Yeah.
then right. And I feel like that just it comes out in my work.
Yeah. As it does for sure. I didn't realize you had them having conversations.
Oh yeah.
That's such a good technique.
Yeah, it's so fun because a lot of the times they don't really know what to do and they get a little they just want to turn and look at you.
Yeah.
And I think just having a few handful of prompts or just even like talking to the kids, asking them what their favorite colors are or what they're going to be for Halloween or like what their teacher's name is or, oh my gosh, you're 14. You must be eating all your vegetables. Or not 14, 4. You're eating all your
14 year
vegetables.
olds too.
14,
Yeah.
I don't know. You're eating all the Doritos. But like just like talking to them and asking them questions and actually being genuinely curious about children and engaging with them. Like
Yeah.
I love working with kids. Like I
Yeah.
think I stopped doing holiday mini sessions a few years ago because I was severely burnt out. But like I
Mhm.
miss kids. I miss them so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I too really love being around them, and especially teenagers,
Yeah.
and giving them the opportunity to be seen as people. And what I often it's a challenge that I have in this avenue, and I ask you if this happens for you as well, is that typically um the more feminine presenting person in the parent group is translating what you want for them,
Yeah.
and is trying to like intervene in their behavior and trying like that person is just trying to be helpful,
Yeah.
but it stops us from having that relationship
Yeah.
with the kid, right? Does it
Yeah.
happen in your sessions as well?
I kind of I feel like because I've developed the relationship with my clients, because I actually am not taking new clients at all. I
I
only
was going to ask you about this.
right. No, I'm actually on a sabbatical this year.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I'm not taking new clients at all. So anyone I do photograph kind of just knows me, and they've pretty much been with me since they had newborns or they had a
Yeah.
maternity session with me, and they kind of know how I work.
Yeah.
And so they kind of just sit back and let me do my thing and know that
Mhm.
like their kids are safe. They're going to have fun. We're going to play. I'm going to let them be goofy. We're going to make funny faces at some point. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's just, I don't really find that my clients like try to take control, because I think I'm pretty bossy. I'm like, this is what we're going to do. It's going to take
Yeah.
this long. And like, everybody, this is like the plan. And this is what we're going to do. And then we're going to be done. And then you guys can go have McDonald's. Like, cool.
I was going
Awesome.
to say, and
Let's
then they
roll.
go get ice cream.
Yeah. Right. Like, easy peasy.
Did you have that bossiness in the beginning?
I think from coming from a event planning,
Mm.
like I did that for probably about, I guess about 7 or 8 years. I was an event planner,
Yeah.
that I am very precise on what I'm looking for, what I want, and my direction.
Mhm.
That I feel like that is probably a skill that I
Mhm.
didn't realize I had. And especially when you have an idea of what you're looking for as far as an image in your head, I got really good and basically trained myself on just telling people what I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does
My
the
husband wouldn't say
we'll talk about that later. Did your do the ideas just come to you, or do you like go looking
that.
for them?
Oh yeah, no, I pretty much just am inspired when we're out in the field, and
Hmm.
just like, what are they going to do? Like
Hmm.
like I usually have like a run through of like, speaking in like a family session. If we're doing an outdoor family session, I kind of have like a run through of like in my head of like all the things that we're going for. And I typically will rotate like the same kinds of poses, but it just might be a different glimmer of something for each one. Like it could be I'm getting dad and daughter, mom and daughter to rub noses. And it could be like the looking at each other right beforehand. It could be like when they're connecting. It could be laughing after. It's like, it's just
Yeah.
what takes my heart when I'm culling. And
Hmm.
right. Like it's just like you get that little like hit.
Yeah.
Or when you take it and you're like, I know
Yeah.
that
That's
was the
it.
shot. And I'm
That's
like,
it.
and you know that lock button Nikon has that lock button, and I tag it right there on my camera. There's like a
Oh,
lock button. I think, well, I
is
still,
that what that button is for?
that's what I use it for. I tag it because then it's tagged in there that that's the one I liked.
That makes so okay. Here's my absolute ignorance with I don't pay any attention to my technology. Like when Uncle Bob's want to come talk to me about my camera at weddings, I'm like, I don't know. I just bought this. It's
Yeah,
like it works.
yeah,
Like, I don't know anything.
exactly.
So I kept when I used Nikon, I kept locking images. I'm like,
Yeah,
why is this happening?
I just call it
This is
tag, and like so I just like if I'm, especially because I love to show my clients when I'm shooting, because I get it really close to being perfect in camera. That
yeah. Yeah.
um I don't know, some people underexpose, cool, that's awesome. Do you? I like to get it almost perfect in camera, and then I just do the polishing in Photoshop. And so when they're looking at it, it's pretty much what they're going to be getting.
Hmm.
So I'm very confident in just going, okay, well, we got like, look through these with me. And they love to look. The kids, especially kids, love to look and like, look how
Yeah, me
amazing you
too.
look, and like the confidence they get, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that this
Yeah.
is all going well.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Um, tell me about your sabbatical.
Okay, well, I had some burnout. Well, because I run two companies. I
Yes.
have the Milky Way, which we produce online retreats. We've got online courses. I've got the podcast, the Art and Soul Show. So it keeps me hopping.
Hmm.
And so on top of that, I have Milk and Honey, which is my photography business that I was running for 14 years simultaneously.
Hmm.
And so running two companies with a, clientele of 20 clients per month on top of having another full-time job was,
Oof. Oh God.
yeah. So, and also drastically undercharging, as every photographer must go through the journey of the undercharging,
Exactly. The
right?
fire swamp. Yep.
Yeah, the fire swamp of
Oh.
undercharging.
So
Yes.
how did that, what was that shift for you? Because that
Oh
is,
gosh, it was, I can remember exactly because I had been doing holiday mini sessions for years. And it was specifically the holiday mini sessions that were sort of the catalyst for everything, because I loved my holiday mini sessions. I am a Christmas girl. I love it so much. I loved the creativity. But the thing was, I just kept wanting to give more and more and more. And like, a mini session for like a regular person is like, 5-10 images. I'm like,
Mhm.
here's 48, right? Like that's not a mini session.
No, no,
Oh, like, and not just like a little bit edited, like fine art editing. And
no.
then one year I decided, I can't say no to all, like I have more clients and all these clients want to get in and I have this VIP list and I sell it every year. So I'm just going to add in 2 more days of 8 sessions per day. So,
At the same price, right?
yeah. And so, yeah, yeah. I was charging, I think 500 for the mini sessions.
Hmm.
But then when you have that many clients, when you book 87 mini sessions in a year,
Oh my God.
you also need like unique backdrops and new props for everything because you can't use the same idea
No,
twice.
of
That would be
course you
ridiculous,
can't.
right?
What if someone sees it?
Everybody must have a brand new idea. And because these clients have been coming for the last 8 years, I must come up with brand new ideas for every single one of these. So the
Oh,
pressure that I was putting on myself for the mini sessions, and the sheer amount of number of them and the amount of money I was spending, I did the
yeah,
math on Christmas Eve morning and
yeah,
basically had a breakdown.
yeah.
And this was like 2019 and said, oh my God, I only made $7,000.
Ugh.
Like what, what? That was not worth that.
Wow.
Like the time I was spending away from my family, the amount of editing. And I was outsourcing some of my editing at that point. Designing holiday cards, like just the I just broke. I was
Yeah.
like, I just can't do this. And then the pandemic happened,
Right.
and that was like a forced shutdown. And then when we did come back, like I'm wearing a mask and I'm not like, I am very expressive. And so cover a
Mhm.
mask up with this, and I'm just like, I can't get the connection I want with
Yeah, that
babies.
was really hard.
Right? Like, I can't do this. Like, this is not working for me. So I just said, okay, well, I kind of just gradually tiptoed out a little bit.
Mhm.
Like I stopped and I stopped doing holiday minis. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll just do outdoor family sessions because that's all I can shoot. And then I did that for a couple years. And then this past January, I was like, I need a break. Like I'm burnt out hard.
Mhm.
And so I just said, okay, well, the only time I'm going to be shooting is for tutorials for Milky Way and people I love, like people
Yeah.
that are family, people that are very, very special in my heart. And that's what I'm going to do this year.
Mhm.
So I don't shoot much this year, but it ended up turning into a project where I do self portraits. So it kind of snowballed into that.
You need an outlet,
I
Lisa.
did. And so because what was happening too is, so I love to model call, but I am brutal about actually getting the images back to people
Oh, okay.
because I'm like, because I don't have a deadline because it's my own deadline.
Right.
And so I always felt this like I'd model call for this creative idea I wanted to do, but then I would feel the pressure to do the creative idea in Photoshop where I didn't have the bandwidth for it. And so I'd have people messaging saying, where are my images that
Mhm.
they were looking for free? And that didn't feel
Mm.
good. I was like, but like, this is ew for me. Like
Yeah.
everything, like this was supposed to be a fun creative project. And now I feel like I owe you something. And
Yeah. For
I don't
free.
for free. And I don't like this. So
No.
then I was like, I was talking to a friend and they're like, well, why don't you just photograph yourself? I'm like, I could never do that.
I
And then
would never.
I'm like, what would I have in photograph? And then the wheels started turning and it started all with, I think it was Vermeer's The Milkmaid. And it was a like more of like, I wonder if I could.
Yeah.
And so I did.
Yeah.
And then I did. And then I just started doing more. And it's been really, really fun. And especially with like AI coming along and playing with Discord and Midjourney and creating these backdrops that
Mhm.
I Photoshop myself into. Um,
Mhm.
and it's just been just something that I do for me.
Mhm.
And I can still be creative, but I can do it whenever I want to. And nobody's waiting on me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did that help you manage that? Like, did it breathe life back into that feeling of burnout, or do you feel like that is
It took
over?
a while. It took a while to like I feel like I'm beyond the burnout, but I also kind of come to the realization that I
Yeah.
actually don't want to have a photography business anymore.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Right?
Has this been announced?
No.
Breaking news.
Yeah.
Wow.
I want to continue just to photograph people I love.
Uh-huh.
Um I want to film things for Milky Way. I want to take 2 model call filming sessions as a month,
Yeah.
and that's going to be enough because then that keeps me still shooting and being creative for me. But I don't want to actually shoot for money right now at this point in my life. So it's not that I'm going away forever. I'm taking another longer time out. My son's 14. He's in football. He's so busy that I want to be there. I don't want to be out.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on the computer in the evenings. I want to help him with his, actually, I'm lying. I don't help him with his math homework. Marry someone who's good at math.
Either one of you.
Yeah.
One of you must be good at math.
Yeah.
And plumbing.
Yeah. Seriously. Those are not my skill sets.
So is it like, I mean, this is a really good point to like drive home what we talked to right at the very beginning, that you don't always have to do the same thing.
Nope.
Right? Like to be open to those evolutions.
Yeah.
When you're doing, I'm just really curious about this self-portrait fine art stuff. Have you heard of Brooke Shaden?
Oh, I love Brooke. Yeah.
Yeah.
I met her at Clickaway, like, oh gosh, in 2014, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just saw the one photo that you posted of like you're on a train.
Oh yeah, I just did the tray one.
Tell me about
so
that.
that one, how did I come up with the idea? That came up with the idea because I was shopping on Amazon and I was looking up Victorian, because I love to shop on Amazon. And I love costumes. I love costumes so much. I love costumes. Like, oh my God.
Have you heard of Halloween?
Yeah, Bobby, you should, like, honestly, I'm going to send you photos of just my costumes for me for personal projects. Like,
yes, I would
you'd be like, I could open up a costume store, man. Like, it is ridiculous. I have so many props. Yeah.
I'm the person who goes to the Halloween party with like a hello, my name is Matt or something. That's the extent of my costume.
I could like do any era you can think of.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just really love costumes. I love wigs. I love playing dress up. And
were you ever in theater?
Oh God, yeah.
Okay, of course.
Yeah, I'm a big theater kid. Like, all the theater in high school. Yeah, always the starring role, wanting to have my own show. Like, just a little diva. Yeah.
Now you do. Look at you.
I do. I really did. I wanted to have my own show.
Yeah, there are absolutely those through lines. Like when we ask kids what they want to do when they grow up, sometimes they will say something like, especially when they're younger, they will say something that seems quite to downtrodden adults who have been like dampened by life. They'll listen to a kid and be like, well, you can't dream that. Like it just seems so impossible to them. Yeah. But there's always an element of truth in what that kid is saying.
Yeah.
And if you dreamed when you were little of being like, as you said, like being in, like having your own TV show, like now it's your own podcast and it's your own like you basically have an education TV show.
Yeah.
Did you make that like conscious connection?
Not until later, like only in like the past couple of years that I've kind of been like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like I used to take my parents' video camera and have you ever seen the show The Goldbergs?
No.
Okay. Oh my gosh. You have to watch The Goldbergs because it's like you will love it. It takes place in like the 80s. It is epic. And my son is obsessed with it. And
okay, The Goldbergs.
The Goldbergs. What I would do is I would take my parents' video camera, and this is like probably in like 1991. And I would follow my sister around and then I would dub it into music and make music videos. Like, what? And they all seem like we still have the tapes. It's like, it looks like memorial videos. It is the funniest thing. And it was my favorite thing to do is like, just make music videos. Oh, and wow. Like, I loved video editing before there were computers.
So how did you do it? This is
I would put the audio and dub it in with I don't even remember how I did it. And like, that's what I wanted to do. I would do that in my spare time. I would make music videos. I would play with all sorts of video media. I would dress up my cat in doll clothes and take photos.
Yes, I definitely did that. Yeah, absolutely. Mine was, I was in love with like Canadian and National Geographic. And then I would like put my teddy bear in a bear suit, or like put my teddy bear in like a cat suit and like being like this breaking barriers photographer.
The funniest. I was looking through an old photo album and we had pictures of me like being like 17 standing in my room. And I don't know about you, but I had all these posters all over my room.
Yeah.
But if I looked actually at the posters and I was like, holy crap,
Yeah.
this is like my work.
Oh, wow.
It was
Really?
like Ann Getty's. It was
Yeah, yeah.
like there was this one of this dad holding this baby, he had a giant muscle holding
Uh-huh.
this baby, and like it was
Yeah.
all babies. It was like kids in dress up clothes, like in Victorian times. I'm like,
Yes, I
holy,
remember those. And with like select color on the
yes,
roses.
yes. I had all of them all over my like. I'm
Oh,
like this.
wow.
Yes, I was like, so this really makes sense who I
Yeah.
am, and my
Hmm.
obsession with Anna Green Gables, and like
Hmm.
I was obsessed with Rhode Avonlea and Anna Green Gables, like
Hmm.
crazy obsessed.
Yeah. Proud Canadian here.
Proud
Anybody who
Canadian.
doesn't know Rhode Avonlea or Anne of Green Gables, Canada. This
Yeah.
explains a small iron province, Prince
Yeah.
Edward Island, and it is the darling
Yeah.
of Canadian Victorian
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah. Like all I wanted was a dress with puff sleeves.
Yeah, a pinafore. Pinafore, is that the thing with the
Yes.
like?
With the apron. Yeah.
Yeah, what's the like the wires under the
Oh,
dress?
bustle.
Oh, but yes,
Yeah.
the bustle. I just
I
had a bride who had one of those like giant ring skirts.
oh, the crinoline. Yeah.
Oh
The
my
crinoline
God.
skirts. Yes.
Yeah.
Like I love it so much. And my family also knows how much I love like historical stuff that we went to Barkerville this year.
Uh-huh.
We drove our motorhome and my husband and my son went and had a nap so I could have 3 hours by myself in Barkerville because I love it so
Wow,
much. Yeah.
that is really kind
Yeah.
of them.
It was shocking.
Interesting. So the things that we were interested in as kids, and I think this is something to for like 20-ish year olds, people in
Yeah.
their like their 20th decade or third decade, I guess, to start thinking about like what you really did enjoy as a kid.
Really.
Chances are along the way, someone told you that that wasn't valid when you were an
Yeah.
adult,
Yeah.
but I beg to differ
Yeah.
because those things are ingrained in us. Like that is our personality that was formed when we were
Yeah.
like prior, like younger than 6.
Completely. Like I can't even imagine like had my guidance counselor had mentioned like knowing all the things that I loved back then, the theater, the
Mhm.
drama, like the video, camera, like had I known maybe Emily Carr existed or even
Yeah,
like
yeah.
film school down in Vancouver, like
Mhm.
it would have been interesting where I would have landed,
Yeah.
right? If that had been explored.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And there's probably a universe somewhere where
Yeah,
there's a Lisa
probably. I'm like
doing
a
that.
film director or something.
Totally. So you and Sarah Polly are best friends.
We're besties. Yeah.
Sarah Polly was Anne in Anne of Green Gables. Wait, no,
Oh,
no, no, she was Anne in Rote Avonlea. Or
Sarah Polly was
she was one of the
she
young.
wasn't Felicity. She was maybe she was Sarah. Was it Sarah? No, I can't remember. We're going to Google that. That's a
Yeah.
Googler.
I love talking to other Canadians because, especially like in the 80s and 90s, because Canada only had like 2 channels
Yes.
and the entire country watched two
Yeah.
channels.
Yeah. We sat on our couch all together at 6 p.m.,
Yes.
watched Disney on
Yep.
Sundays,
On
and
Sundays.
then
Yeah.
we watched Road to Avonlea. That's what we did. And we had
Yep. We all did it.
with our ketchup chips
Exactly. And Smarties. Aren't Smarties a
and
Canadian?
Smarties. Yeah.
Oh my God. And that's so different now. Like that, like there's no like no, I mean CBC still exists, right? But like a
Yeah.
national uh time schedule that kind of
No.
everybody's on, right?
Yeah.
It's probably like that in other countries, but that's definitely different
Right.
than when we were kids. Yeah. Changes that. I mean, we talked briefly about how you doing 82 mini sessions
Yeah.
for $100. Was that like, had you been doing that for a few years?
Yeah.
Okay.
I tiptoed my way up. And so what the way I would run my mini sessions is basically my clients would go on a VIP list. And then in August, I would release the dates and the times, and they would auto book when their date and time was, pay their deposit, and it was all done that way. But because my clientele would kept growing and getting bigger and bigger, and I only had a certain number of spots, well, I would add 1 year, I'd add another day, then I'd add another day, and then I had another day. And then I'm like, okay, this is insane. Like, because I can't say no.
Yeah.
And then they like, they would sell out within 30 minutes. And I'd get emails and I'm like, okay, I'll just add another day for you because I like you and you missed the email. Right. So like,
Yeah.
shoot, right?
Yeah. Okay, so there's two things that are sort of happening in here. There's a bit of, I don't know if it's people pleasing.
Oh, yes.
Is it people pleasing?
Oh,
Okay.
yes. Yes. I have
Like
a
wanting
name
to
tag
make
that says,
everybody happy.
hello,
Yeah.
reformed
Yeah.
people pleaser. Right.
So there's people pleasing that can lead to burnout for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but then there's also even people who aren't people pleasers necessarily, it's that drive to make more money by increasing quantity
Yeah.
rather
It was
than,
both. It was both.
yeah,
I doubled down on that. Like
yeah,
I got that from both angles.
yeah,
So it was like make more money and make everybody happy.
right.
And
And is
then,
that, go ahead, sorry.
oh, then doing that, I was like, me not happy.
Yeah,
Right. Family
yeah,
not happy. Drinking too much. Like, oh,
yeah.
a bottle of wine tonight, right? Like,
It's so easy.
so easy. And
Yeah,
you just kind of just gets into this like perpetual
yeah.
where you're like numb and
Mhm.
unhappy. And but you don't really know how to get off the ride.
Yeah.
So I just
You
decided to
can't.
stop. I just decided to stop the ride entirely. And I also don't drink anymore. So like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Side note, that's another discussion that we can have
right.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's such a socially accepted
Mm-hmm.
thing that just messes you up.
Well,
Yeah.
even like the whole like mommy culture of like baby cries.
Yeah.
And like I drink because baby cries, or like my kids are awful, so I drink. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, but
Mom's
we
wine
just
club.
maybe
So
we shouldn't perpetuate that. We should just like feel our feels and like go have a
yeah.
bath or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Go have a bath or like stop doing the stuff that makes you think that only wine will solve this.
yeah. Because
You know,
yeah,
or like,
honestly, it doesn't. It just like makes things worse.
yeah, it really does. It's a depressant, folks.
Yep.
Alcohol is a depressant.
Yeah. Getting rid of that in my life was like I didn't like it wasn't like I was like an alcoholic by any means, or even like it's just like when I realized I was reaching for it as a medication
Hmm.
versus reaching for it as a social thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, this isn't something I actively want in my life.
Yeah.
So I chose to
How,
remove it.
how long has it been?
It started in January.
Okay.
And it like and actually it was probably about 2 years before that. So it would be like, oh, we'll just have like a few drinks here and there.
Hmm.
So but then I was just like cold turkey in January.
Hmm.
I was like, I had maybe like a cooler over the summer,
Hmm.
glass of red wine with some cheese like
Hmm.
2 weeks ago. And I was like, I don't really need this. I'm good.
Yeah. Did
Right.
you notice when you had the red wine and cheese, did you notice the next morning how depressed you felt?
I felt anxiety. And it
Okay.
was interesting because I thought that um it was alcohol causing anxiety. And then I just came to realize that I think I maybe just have like anxiety and alcohol just perpetuates it. Like
Yeah.
I have anxiety
Yeah.
and that's fine. I have anxiety. I'm probably
Yeah.
not going to medicate myself, but that's,
Yeah. I mean, they tend to hold each other's hand if we don't deal
yeah,
with either of them, right? Like they tend to find each other. Um, I don't drink very often. Used to drink a lot, like for sure in high school and my 20s. I was pretty much an alcoholic for sure.
yeah,
Um, and now, like through COVID, we didn't drink at all. And then I was like, whoa,
yeah,
my brain worked differently. I slept better
yeah,
despite generalized anxiety because of the state of the world.
yeah,
I was my ability to sleep and especially my ability to sleep, but
yeah,
also like to modulate my mood
yes,
was so much better. I
yeah,
couldn't I couldn't believe it. And now if I have like a glass of wine in the evening just because I feel like
yeah, because you feel like
hanging out with
it.
people, the next morning I'm like, oh,
Mm,
I feel really off.
yeah.
And it's not a hangover. It is that like,
It's just the alcohol in your body and what it does to your dopamine.
yeah, it's the
Yeah.
mood
There's,
drop.
there is a fascinating book called, oh gosh, This Naked Mind by Annie something or other. Annie, I can't remember. Annie something. This Naked Mind. And it's all about alcohol and what it actually does to your brain and your body. And
Yeah.
it's a choice. Like if you want to choose to drink it. I mean, obviously, the people that have addiction issues,
Mhm.
different,
Yeah.
completely different story.
Yeah.
But this was a really good resource for me just to like understand what it's doing to my brain and my body, and if I'm going to choose to actively participate in that.
Yeah.
And then I just made my decision on that.
Did it have anything to do with your sabbatical?
Um, A little bit. Also, I was put on some different medication for my thyroid.
Hmm.
And when I drank, I was like, ooh, I would get really sick. So I was like,
Ooh.
yeah, I was like, I don't think I'm going to do this anymore. And
Yeah.
so just kind of the combination of everything of just slowing down, getting more sleep, being put on a new thyroid med. I was like, okay, I think I'm good. I think I'm good. I think I'm done. I
Hmm.
think
Yeah.
I had all the drinks I need now. So,
Yeah. Sometimes the choice is really
right.
easy. That
And
also
the thing is,
happens.
yeah, I like maybe I'm not saying forever, maybe I'll go back and have a drink here and there, but for right now, at this phase of my life, like I kind of value sleep more. Right.
I love sleep.
I love sleep so much.
It's really great.
Right. Just like not like whenever you have a glass of wine, you wake up at like 3 a.m, like with
Yep.
that loathing, and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
right, self-loathing at 3 a.m. Like I do not miss that.
No.
Like,
What is it about that?
right.
Yeah, just absolute like wake up with a million, a million concerns and
Yeah.
things that like devastating thoughts
Yeah.
as to
And you
what was
just loop and you loop for like 4 hours and you're like, well, that was a crap night. Right. Let's go to work now and be smiley.
happening.
Right.
Let's be nice to people around us.
Right. No, feel like no. Feel like no. Right. Yep.
Hmm. Do you think that this is something that people recognize when they're younger?
I don't think so because I think
Yeah.
because I'm in my mid 40s and I think that I think the older I get, the worse my hangovers get, and the more
Yeah.
alcohol, like the more sensitive I seem. Or like
Yeah.
maybe it's just more in tune with my body and like just aging and like how much I value just health and my well-being,
Yeah.
right? That I don't know. I don't know if younger people do, and that's okay. You'll get there.
Yeah,
Right?
totally, totally. I remember my tattoo artist saying that to me at one point. Like his body is covered in tattoos, and he's like, the older I get, the more they hurt. Like
Oh,
I can't, I can't numb it anymore. I have to acknowledge that this hurts. And I was like,
interesting.
how insightful, Mr. Tattooist,
Very.
with
Yes.
love tattooed on your cheek. Like
Oh.
yeah, and it's coming true. It's totally true. Like I'm
Yeah.
way more sensitive.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's necessarily sensitive, it's that I'm unable to
Yeah.
numb it.
Yeah.
I have to acknowledge it. That
Yeah.
is how, yeah, physically
And
and
like, yeah, like physically and mentally with life too, like
mhm,
unable to numb it or unwilling to numb it, like willing to look at it.
yeah. Oh, all of these things. None of these. Okay, here's a question. Does any of this has anything to do with our photography businesses?
I think, yeah, willing to look at things and like
Mhm.
the longer you're in something, like
Yeah.
in like there's like the honeymoon phase of denial where you are
I can do it.
right when you're first getting it started, you like you think you're amazing. And maybe you
Yeah.
are. I was not. I just thought I
Oh
was.
God, I was
Right?
awful.
Like, right. But we have this like we had these like amazing egos that seem to propel us, like that we're like toddlers, right? Like
Hmm.
toddlers think they're amazing. They don't
Hmm.
know how to walk and they still poop their pants, but they think they're amazing, right? Like, but then you get the 14-year-olds who are like so self-conscious and they
Yeah.
know so much more, right? And so maybe we're just looking at, we're a little bit more self-conscious.
Hmm. We realize what we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an
Like
element
yeah,
of not.
going through business puberty.
Yeah, I know, I never thought of it like that. That would be an interesting, maybe I'll do that for their coaching call related to
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
is your business in relation to like our life cycles.
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm writing this down. That's such a
Yay. Because I mean, your business really does go through a puberty,
yeah. Oh God.
right?
It's
Right? Where
everything.
it's like ugly and you're just,
Stinky,
yeah, not like puberty's ugly, but right? Just stinky and like
uncomfortable.
things you don't want to look at and like behaviors that you're not really sure you should continue and like
Yeah.
not looking at your numbers ever.
Oh my God. The ignorance is bliss.
Mm-hmm. I mean, ignorance really is bliss sometimes.
It truly is.
Yeah. I know, but and that's the thing is like the more you learn and about something, like the less you feel like you know. Isn't
Yeah.
that funny? Like
Yeah.
when you're in the beginning, you think you know everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so ironic, right?
Right. And it's like, and that's where like imposter comes syndrome comes in because like the most like the people that should be the most confident are
Hmm.
probably the people with the biggest imposter syndrome. Like,
Hmm.
and like they've got so much experience,
Right.
but they don't feel like it.
Yeah. Because there's so much more to learn
Yeah,
always.
always.
I think though, as we get older, we have more confidence in knowing that we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Whereas when we're younger, we're like, this is the end. Like,
Right.
I can't.
Yep.
Either there's no way I will fail, or like I'm nothing but a failure.
Yeah.
There's not that grace where you're like, I can't do this. This is overwhelming, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
figure it out, you know?
Yeah. I think I always feel like things are going to work out and I'm going to
Hmm.
figure it out somehow, or I'm just
Hmm.
going to move on. And so
You must.
I never really think of anything. Like I've had so many businesses that were, quote unquote failures,
Hmm.
but I never ever thought of them as a failure. I just was like, okay, well, I'm just going to move on to something else. So
Hmm.
next, but I
Yeah.
never, ever, ever considered myself a failure.
Hmm. That's an important distinction,
It's just
right?
like, if it's not working, well, next.
Yeah. Yeah. And we learn so much more from our perceived um, failures
Yeah.
than from our successes, right?
And honestly, like things perceived failures are often like quite funny.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
just look at the humor in it, like the
If you're willing
ridiculous
to
things,
laugh.
like right, like or the lessons in it.
Yeah.
Like that time I didn't back up a card and overrode it,
You
and
have that story.
I do, but who
Oh,
doesn't? Who
I
doesn't?
don't. I don't.
Really? Good for you. You had some good organization skills. I
I
did not,
don't.
but then I learned how. Now I back things up
Exactly.
3 times
Oh,
before I even
wow.
pitch it. And actually, it stays on the card. I've got so many cards, it stays on
Yes,
the card until the session is delivered to the client.
totally. That's my
Right.
process. Is I do not
Yes.
erase it until it is on my hard drive and uploaded to the cloud for sure.
But had I not had that experience, I probably would have been less serious about my process with that. Or
Yeah.
like having a CRM, like when my client showed up with her baby and I was wearing a towel and a bathrobe. And
It's this kind of session.
like I didn't clean the studio from yesterday and there was like baby poop on things and I was like this is like the worst feeling and I'm humiliated and embarrassed and I'm not professional. So how can I make
Mm,
sure this never happens again? And so
yeah.
instead of being like I failed, it's like what are the lessons in this? And
Hmm.
then let's just not do that again.
Yeah.
Okay? Cool.
Yes. Yes. Because we get so down on ourselves
Right?
for not doing it
Everyone
right.
f's up. Everyone f's up.
Totally.
Right? Like a human. We're
Yeah,
supposed to.
if you don't F up, you're not, I don't want to say you're not trying hard. Like in sports, there's
Yeah.
this analogy that like if you're not getting if you're not messing up or you're not falling or whatever, especially in things like biking or whatever, if you're not falling, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
And I do think that is the same in business, is that if you're not coming to these like things where you're like, oh God,
Yeah.
you're not going to learn. Like we can hear from other people,
Yeah.
but there are things that we have to experience on our own.
Absolutely. And it's funny. It's like I've had marketing things that have failed. I've had minis. It was 2016. I wanted to do Mother's Day minis.
Hmm.
Send it out to my list. Didn't book a single one.
What
Not a
happened?
single one.
Hmm.
Yet I was filling up my holiday minis. Couldn't figure it out. What am I doing?
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh well. Does anyone know I didn't fill those out?
Yeah,
Am
no.
I completely humiliated, embarrassed? No.
Hmm.
Oh well. And move on. Move on.
Yeah,
We're all gonna have failures, right?
yeah.
And we think that everyone sees them, but the fact is no one notices. No one's paying attention
No.
anyway.
Everybody's so worried about their own shit. They're not
Yeah.
looking at yours.
Mm-mm. Everyone thinks everyone else is doing 10 times better than they actually are.
They aren't.
Right?
I
Like,
wish I wish we were doing as well as other people thought we were doing.
right? Seriously.
Well, I think so this realization for you. Okay. So you're gone in this, I keep coming back to this because I kind of want to
Yeah.
know the cycle that you went through to
Yeah.
get, so the years of your hustle
Yeah.
and so that people can recognize this when they're starting this downward turn
Yeah.
of you have several dozen sessions for a low cost the next year you either open up some extra sessions or you charge slightly more, you get at that booked. And but that hustle will continue increasing
Yeah.
until you get to the point of burnout.
Yeah.
So if people truly do want to avoid burnout,
Yeah.
where is the point where they change what they're doing? And what would you recommend them change
I think
first?
I think it's that feeling of like, wow, I'm working too much. And I
Hmm.
think, okay, so if you're working too much, I mean, we hear this all the time. It's like raise your prices.
Hmm.
It doesn't necessarily have to be. If you want to make more, raise your prices. If you don't feel like it's going to be sustainable, don't raise your prices. It's your business. It's your choice. Like check your numbers. What's your cost of business? Like
Hmm.
do the math.
Hmm. Do
But
the math.
also right. But don't also like pigeonhole your community in saying they won't pay this, because
Yeah.
there are many, many, many small communities that have photographers making, six-figure businesses because that's
Yeah.
their choice.
Yeah.
Just because you haven't seen it in your community doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So don't like, right? Like right? Right? It can
Yes,
be possible for
yeah,
you. It can be
absolutely.
possible for you. But also you got to put the effort in there too,
Hmm.
right? It's like when you hear these things like, I'm struggling to get clients.
Hmm.
It's like, oh, well, what are you doing? Do you have an email list? What kind of
Hmm.
marketing are you doing?
Hmm.
Like, how are you reaching out? Are you making relationships with people in your community? Are you following up? If you've got a newborn session, are you following up with their 6 month or their
Yeah.
9 month or 1 year? Are you developing relationships with your clients? What are you actively doing beyond posting on Facebook and Instagram?
Hmm.
Right? Like, you can't build a business behind a wall,
Yeah.
right? Like, people want to do business with people that are people,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
In your education, do you have is your education mostly about shooting, or do you have courses that are
I
more?
actually, well, it's funny because I like to talk mainly about the art.
Yeah.
And I teach on the art. I like talking about the art because, to be completely honest, I don't feel like I am the epitome of a successful photography business. And I've run a business for 14 years. I have a lot of lessons, but am I a six-figure photography business? No. Do I want to be? No. So that's not my arena. I'm
Hmm.
going to hand that over and bring to my audience the most amazing people that do that well,
Right.
because that's who can teach them that. The
Hmm.
art, the technical, I can teach you that. That's
Hmm.
what I want to teach you. Right.
Yeah.
So I think, like, I don't know what lights me up. What do I want to talk about? What do I want to teach? What do I have to share? And I think when I approach it from that way, um, that feels really good to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
And this is, go
that's
ahead.
my zone of genius.
Hmm. Ooh, Zone of Genius. Um, have you read The Big Leap?
I read it years ago, and I actually listened to like half the audiobook on the way to my parents' cabin this summer,
Yeah.
but I need a refresh.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a good
so
one though.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's a
so
good one.
good. What Guy Hendricks?
Guy Hendricks. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Read The Big Leap, because
Yeah.
this is very much what it's about. And what we started this conversation saying, how your driver is joy, seeker of joy. That is your zone of genius, right? Or like finding the thing that brings you the joy. And that is truly, that's how it works. Like that's how we draw in the people that will give us what we need to keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And in our world, the thing that we are exchanging is money,
Yeah.
right? Like we could be exchanging potatoes, like
Yeah.
and that would probably have like a different sound
Yeah.
of
Right. Dunk. I like French fries.
but like let's replace the word money with a less charged word, and
Yeah.
people be like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
But because we're so scared of money and there's so
Yeah.
much
Well,
like
it's like
terrible stories about power and
oh
stuff,
gosh. Well,
right?
even like it's signing your worth and your value to how much you charge. Like
Yeah.
that is such a slippery slope, especially for artists and photographers, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm not worth that. Well, you're worth infinity amount of money.
We need
Like,
to talk.
right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I hope people who are starting can, if they give themselves the grace to like start at that point,
yeah.
that what you want to charge is like what you're doing is valuable
Yeah.
and you are worth it.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're worth whatever you want to charge.
Exactly.
You get to decide. You get to say how much you want to charge. You get to say how much your time is worth.
Yeah.
My husband keeps trying to tell me, he's like, well, when you do go back, I don't think you should do a session less than $5,000. I'm like, dude,
I don't take business advice from my husband either.
no, I don't. I love that you value me like that. I love that for you.
But also, Lisa, you could if you wanted to.
You
could. Well, look at we're uncovering some of your own
I know.
limiting
I'm
beliefs.
like, no one would pay me that.
Oh.
Right.
Are you
like,
someone
and then
who
I'm like, what would I
yes?
have to give them? I'm like my firstborn child? Like,
no, Lisa. You need to talk to one of the business coaches that you have
right?
in
I
education
know.
about that.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's so funny. Of course, like we all have these limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
like and thinking that we don't. It's so funny. And I think I've done a lot of trying to like unpack a lot of them. And it's interesting though, because our first instinct when you uncover one is like, I'm hiding. No, that's not there. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love this topic. I talk about this with my students all the time. We spend a great deal of time talking about their value and their worth and their limiting beliefs around money. There's so many. Not only do we get kind of indoctrinated by how our family looks at money, but also our society and all the different ways that money is used and abused and perceived.
Oh yeah.
Girls, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is another podcast topic. We're coming up with a really great list here, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. Well, I've so loved talking with you.
I love talking to you too. We haven't had enough references to Princess Bride.
I know. I like actively stopped myself several times throughout this entire talk.
Oh, I laughed so hard. Side note, on when Bobby came to my show, we found we have a mutual love for The Princess Bride. And we quoted that movie like a thousand times. Like it was just laughs the entire episode.
We'll have to have like a special Princess Bride episode together.
Yes.
I think on either one of our podcasts if you're into that.
Yeah.
But I wonder what this is something that just come to me. What if we like did your business as Princess Bride?
Oh. The fire swamp.
Yeah. This one
the cliffs of insanity.
Oh God.
The Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yes.
I mean, the Six-Fingered Man.
And the quest to find him, right?
Yep. And things that take out years of your life.
Yep.
Yep.
When you might end up getting stabbed anyway.
Yep. Yep.
Oh gosh. And that's what I love so much about that movie because there's so many metaphors in it and so many that I'm clearly just discovering.
Right.
I don't even know when it came out, like 30 or 40 years ago.
Gosh, how old are you?
I'm 44.
Yep, I'm 45. So like we were like the same age when it came out. So it was like the movie.
It was the movie.
Right?
Like still clearly in my life.
It's still the movie.
It's just perfect in every way.
Right?
Yeah. It's absolutely perfect. Just like you.
I love it.
Just like your baby photos.
My perfect baby photos.
Okay, side note, how? Like, how do you get them to do that? Like, I was watching a video of you and the baby's like...
They just melt into me. They melt into me. And it's like just time and posing and just like, I actually I'm certified in Reiki. I'm level 2 Reiki. So I do use a bit of Reiki on babies a little bit. Just the calming energy and just like love from source and just, I just calm them down and baby whisper. And
can you do that for me?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I used to be an esthetician. And so I did actually do that for adults.
Yeah, totally.
I would do facials and I would put my clients to sleep.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Huh. Was that something that you've always had? Like, have you always been really like attracted to babies and wanting to?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Like I have pictures of me in dress up with babies. Everything is with babies. And I'm the oldest of 4. And like my mom would let me take my brother when I was 5. And like I've got pictures of me, like he's in my doll cradles and my doll buggies. Like
Yeah.
it was the
Yeah.
80s.
Totally. Cabbage Patch Kids. How
Yeah.
was it for you when you had your son then?
Well, he's IVF.
Oh,
So we had him through IVF, and I really wanted a baby. So I've been married 20 years and my son's 14. And we started trying to have a baby when just after we got married when I was 26. So I had him at 31. And I just like he was everything, my everything. And that's like he's the reason I became a photographer because I did not want a single minute of his life to be not captured. Like, and it was so like I learned everything on him. He was my muse. And when he turned about 8 or 9, that's when everything sort of shifted. And he didn't want to be photographed anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when really everything started to change. You know, there was
Like in your business and stuff?
I got angry at my business. I got resentful. And because I was angry that I wanted to be taking these pictures of my own son, my own family. And I wasn't going to force them to do it, of course. But I was resentful that I could do that for my clients, but I couldn't do it for me.
Oh, wow.
And it coincided with we were trying to have baby number 2. And we started trying, I think it was about 2014. And I had multiple failed IVF cycles.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's my journey.
Yeah.
And we did like, I stopped trying when I turned 40. So it was probably a good 14 years of trying to have children. And I love babies. Like I love babies. My husband and I, we would have had 3 for sure had we been able to.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I'm everybody's Auntie Lisa, and I get to snuggle babies on the weekly. So that's my journey. And I think that's why I love babies so much too, is because they're never going to be 12 days old ever again.
Yeah.
And I get to spend day 12 with them. Yeah. I get to be like, right? Like I get to capture day 12 of that baby's life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's really special.
And this is also something that I often talk with my students about. They're like, my why is like, I like pictures, but what you just described, Lisa, that's your why.
That's my why.
It brought you so much joy, and you being able to gift that forward to your clients, right? That what you don't have, but you still have it because you're able to share it with others. Yeah, that's really beautiful.
So, which was with this part what I found really interesting. But during that time of going through IVF and having so many babies come through my studio, I never once felt resentful or angry that it couldn't be me. Yeah. And I thought that was really peculiar when I looked back. I was like, I never ever felt bad. I was like, maybe I'm gonna have a breakdown when I'm 50. I don't know. Like,
well, time will tell.
Am I just really good at compartmentalizing? Like
you may be. Right? Child of the 80s, you may
right. Be. Put that on the shelf. Right.
I'll get that later. But I wonder, like, was it a healing journey for you as well, being able to do that?
I feel like very possibly that I got to spend so much time with them that I think that possibly it was. And I think that taking that time off too, I did actually, when I took the time off, when I started taking time off, I actually started talking to like a grief counselor, and I kind of just let myself be sad about what I had gone through. And because it was heavy. It was heavy in my heart for a while. And then I kind of just let that go. And I don't have that sadness anymore. Because once you need to process it. You can't just keep it on the shelf forever. So I feel like I've actually done that healing, and I feel good.
Yeah. Well, your work is wonderful.
Thank you.
It's bringing so much joy, and even more joy, right, through being able to educate other photographers to do this.
Oh, like that
it's like spreading seeds. You know, there's only so much that you can do yourself.
Yes, it's incredible. Just like, especially when I first started, there were really not many resources for photographers online. We were one of the first companies to actually offer online learning. And when it came to like newborn photography, and just the transformations, like we have our online retreats that I know that you're going to be part of coming up, which I'm very excited about. Just being able to bring so many different photographers into one sort of virtual arena and
Hmm.
getting students to have those transformations so much faster than I ever did. Like,
Yeah.
oh, like you'll see in the group. And I
Yeah.
cannot wait because
Yeah.
it's like you have someone who is like kind of struggling with their confidence. They're not really sure what they're doing. They're struggling with how they hold babies or how they're working with them. And you'll
Hmm.
see them go through after they're watching the videos, after they're practicing, and what they're making like within literally weeks. Like
Yeah.
it blows your mind. It blows
So
your mind. And like just getting to do that is
mhm.
just the highlight of my life, honestly,
Mhm.
just watching others grow.
Joy.
Yeah, it does. It brings me joy. Like I'm a mama bear, right? Like so much pride, so much pride. And
Aw.
we've produced, I think 20. This is our 21st online retreat. Um, yeah, and they're magic.
Well, thank you for doing it, Lisa. Thank you for
Thank
bringing your magic into the world, spreading it around.
you.
Glitter.
Glitter everywhere. Like,
Awesome. Well, I imagine we will speak again.
I know we will.
Yes. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Bobby, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
We will talk again. And that was the gift to the world that is Lisa Digeso. I hope that you gathered a wealth of inspiration and evidence and motivation for your work if you are a newborn and or maternity and or family photographer. And even if you're not, uh, Lisa's life experience has definitely given us a bunch of things to consider. I so appreciate her outlook on flowingness and love and joy, and it was an absolute joy to have her here. Thank you to you for listening, and as always, I hope you have a super beautiful day, and I will talk to you next week.